Good morning, everybody. Voting has just ended here at the Wanchai Exhibition Centre in the Small Circle 2022 Chief Executive race. No spoilers, please, as to who may have won. The elite voters are just gathering behind me now. There are 1,461, mostly, well, pretty much all establishment people from industry sectors, from grassroots groups, members of national political organizations and lawmakers, all, of course, establishment friendly. And there is only one candidate, of course, John Lee. These small circle voters have just, over the last couple of hours, voted to support him or voted to not support him. And to win, he will need 751 votes or more. Big operation today, millions of dollars behind this, 7,000 police officers reportedly deployed, $228 million in the electoral budget over this year. So big operation, lots of media. The COVID restrictions like the Leave Home Safe app were suspended for the likes of the voters, although we have to comply with it. To talk a bit about John Lee, what is happening with my hair today? John Lee, 64, he is an ex-police officer, ex-security chief, ex-chief secretary, and of course he oversaw the 2019 crackdown on the protests. He has vowed a results-orientated approach. If that sounds a little broad and vague, well, so does his manifesto. It didn't particularly go into detail, but he has promised, like every chief executive candidate since the handover, to alleviate the housing crisis. And he wants to restore the city's international status in light of the protests and COVID-19. But it lacked detail, his manifesto, although he said he wants to start a new chapter, his slogan being us and we. So some of the ballot boxes have arrived because there are, as we understand, 4 voters who cast ballots at Penny's Bay. They're in quarantine, clearly. What we do know about Lee's approach is that he will very likely introduce local legislation on the national on security law, Article 23, back from the dead perhaps, when it was thrown out in 2003 amid huge protests. Crowdfunding regulations, a fake news law. He will be sworn in on July 1st, the day after Chief Executive Carrie Lam finishes her tenure. She should be around today voting somewhere. And just as when she was voted in, or inaugurated, sorry, in 2017, Xi Jinping is rumored to be coming to town to inaugurate John Lee, if indeed he wins. And we'll see if he gets the most votes ever today. There is some thought it might be unanimous. He might get 100%. Sometimes you might see, 1 or 2 dissenters when it comes to votes at China's top legislature. But what will tend to happen here, well, for a start, lawmaker Tick, the only non-pro-establishment voice, as he puts it, in the legislature, has said he's voting to support Lee. Nevertheless, however many votes Lee gets today, and we will know probably in the next hour, it will probably become his nickname. Lam got 777 votes. She was called 777. CY Leung before her got 689 votes. Donald Jung won with 649. So as for this small circle committee, the authorities say it is broadly representative, though bear in mind, this is a city of over 7 million. They represent 0.02% of the population were everyone to get a vote. And of course, everyone who does get a vote today was vetted by a committee led by, guess who, John Lee himself. Now, this is the first Patriots-only chief executive election since Beijing's overhaul. So traditionally pro-democracy sectors like education, like law, like IT, they have had their democratic representation reduced, and the number of voters who get to choose the committee members was slashed from over 250,000 in 2020 to just under 8,000 last year. So one other thing to bear in mind is that the pro-democracy district councillors, because almost all district bar one were taken by the Democrats, have been ousted from this committee, so they won't get a say. Most opposition figures, of course, abroad, well into self-exile, or behind bars, or quit politics. So you can hear the announcement asking people to take their seats now. We're going to do that too and prepare our reporting. Stay tuned with us on Hong Kong Free Press. Thanks for joining us this morning.